I just got three things to say. God bless our troops, God bless America, and gentlemen, start your engine!
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mitchell Brewer, and today the NASCAR Cup Series made history running their first race at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Chase Elliott returned to victory lane for the first time since his championship win last year at Phoenix, but that was not the story of the race. The story of the race came early as rain tires were a must throughout the entire race today, as rain played a factor. Not a red flag at the start of the race, but we'll get to the red flags here. Austin Hendrick jumped out because he didn't put on the wet tires right away. Was able to drive around in the lead for a little bit, finally came to pit road. And it was we got through that first stage, and then all of a sudden chaos started breaking loose, with visibility becoming a major concern for drivers. The first big incident involving Kevin Harvick, Bubba Wallace, and Christopher Bell all suffering serious race-ending damage and taking them out of the race. And Brock Beard made a really good point in his live stream of how we didn't really see a replay of this from Fox. They didn't really have a good camera angle of it, partially because of that low visibility. But we got a good visibility of the next wreck, though, that involved Michael McDowell, Martin Truex Jr., and Cole Custer. Truex had ran into Michael McDowell, who had slowed up. Truex had slowed up after that because of the damage as a result. And Cole Custer came flying on through, smashed in the back of Truex due to the low visibility, and Truex went flying. He nearly flipped. Cole Custer's car was engulfed in flames. He hit the wall. He's getting out of the car while there's still traffic coming by, as drivers are still trying to avoid the melee that's going on. All of a sudden, NASCAR throws a red flag, says that we're only going to do single file restarts, shades of the Bristol Dirt Race earlier this season. And oh boy, were the takes coming in. The hottest of the takes coming from Kevin Harvick, who expressed a lot of frustration after exiting his car and having his day end.
We don't have any business being out in the rain, period. So, all I can say is this is the worst decision that we've ever made in our sport that I've been a part of, and I've never felt more unsafe in my whole racing career, period.
NASCAR did address these concerns after the race, with their senior vice president of competition, Scott Miller, coming out and talking to the media.
Harvick has his right to his opinion, obviously. I don't think that's probably an opinion that's universally shared among the drivers, and we certainly don't want to put anybody in harm's way out there. It's a tough job for us to balance a competitive event, a good show for the fans, and with the driver's best interest. It's a tough job. I think rain at a race points out the fact that everybody in this business has a hard job. You guys have a hard job. We have a hard job. The drivers have a hard job. Everybody's got a tough job, and balancing all the elements to suit everybody is a tough job.
What do you learn from today? Do you stop races a little bit more earlier than you would have maybe from what you saw earlier today?
So I think that we always try to learn from what we do. This was kind of a new thing at a big natural terrain road course, and we will certainly learn from that. And we probably did. I would kind of own the fact that maybe we did let it go a little bit too long there before we did something. So, but it's a learning experience for all of us. We will learn. We'll be better next time. And I think probably your original question of would we pull the plug earlier? Probably so.
This is a big thing with what Scott Miller had to say at the end of the race, how this was a learning lesson for NASCAR. And the thing that kind of bothered me with everything was, and obviously it was a dangerous situation, and NASCAR, even themselves, said that they probably should have thrown a red flag sooner to avoid at least that crazy, dangerous wreck between Custer and Truex. I was very lucky not to injure anybody. But the thing is, and I saw a couple of tweets kind of saying the same thing, where it was everybody was super hyped about this rain tires, how this could be a possibility, and then all suddenly the mood really changed with this around everything, and it was, why is NASCAR doing this? Why is NASCAR even trying to run it in the rain? Why are they doing this? Why? And for years it's been, why isn't NASCAR running with rain tires? NASCAR has made it very clear that this is something they want to do, and frankly, I think it is something that they should continue to look into, not just for road courses, but ovals, if it is possible. I'm not saying they should do it. I think they should do a lot of testing. I know they're doing a test, I believe, tomorrow at Richmond with the wet weather. But it's definitely something they should be doing. We see race after race after race after race get postponed, and it's affecting NASCAR. I think it's being very hard to bring in a new audience because you have races constantly postponed till Monday, constantly having these 4 or 6 hour rain delays that take forever, and by the time the race resumes, half the audience is gone because they don't want to sit through a rain delay. And I think NASCAR needed to come up with some sort of solution, fight back to whatever this solution to this issue. And I think they needed to take a look at this and address it. Now, I'm not going to say that NASCAR is completely innocent in all this. I think as soon as visibility became a big concern for multiple drivers, they definitely should have thrown the red flag, and NASCAR, again, agreed with that. But the thing is you need this trial and error for things like this. You need to have the excitement, the fun. You see what works with these rain tires. We've seen it. We've seen fans enjoy it and seen some really good racing. But you also need to see these negative setbacks where you got to be like, okay, this is something that we need to take a look at. Maybe we can run on a wet racetrack that's not too badly raining. But when it's pouring and it's causing a visibility concern, that's where we got to put the line in the sand and say, no, we can't do this. And I think this was a very, I think this was needed for NASCAR. I'm not saying that I want to see these big, dangerous crashes to teach NASCAR a lesson. It sucks that was a part of it, but I think NASCAR needed to have this little bit of a slap in the face and say, hey, okay, we need to evaluate how we do this. We can't just go road course racing, no matter what. We're running these races. We're going all out. We're going to have cars on track. It doesn't matter if it's pouring. We needed that little step back to say, oh, okay, these rain tires work, but they don't work in severe bad conditions where they probably shouldn't be running out there anyways. And I don't know. That's just my take on that. I think NASCAR is going to get a lot of flack from this, and they already have. But I don't think that it was, I don't think it's all on them. And I feel like they would have gotten just as much flack as if they didn't try anything with these rain tires whatsoever. Back to the main issue at hand, which was this race that continued on after the serious accident between Custer and Truex. And there was a minute there where I thought, okay, see you Monday, this race ain't going to continue. But NASCAR, to their credit, got this race going back again. And it was I would say it was a pretty fun conclusion, although we'll get to the ending. We saw a fun conclusion to stage 2 where you saw different pit strategies taking place. You saw Austin Cindric and Kyle Busch having a nice little battle up front. You saw Corey LaJoie running up near the front. It was a fun little, there's a lot of action going on. And I think that was pretty good, and it carried over into stage 3. But then the rain came in. Who else was out front but the road course king himself, Chase Elliott. Radar looks terrible, and all of a sudden NASCAR, and I don't blame them for this solution, kind of just said, you know what, let's get out of Austin, Texas, and let's not ruin any more race cars. Congrats, Chase, on your first win of the season. This thing is over. And again, a mixed reaction online as a postponed race is going to have. But I think NASCAR made the right call there. And I think that it's unfortunate because I think we were going to get kind of an interesting run to the end there. There's a lot of interesting things going on before the end of the race. Like Kurt Busch, who overdrove the corner, he drove straight through the pit. Didn't get stuck, kept his car going, and he just kept on going, and I thought that was an instant classic. I think that was one of the highlights of the race, was just seeing Kurt maneuver his way through there, because we've seen it so many times at Watkins Glen and Sonoma where somebody gets stuck in those sand pits and they're screwed, and that's going to be a caution, but that wasn't the case for Kurt. And I think that brings up another thing with the racing this weekend, where cautions seem to be not as, it seemed like those calls from a lot of fans saying that NASCAR should take a look at local yellows and stuff like that. It seemed like NASCAR is kind of, I don't know if local yellows is the correct term for it, but I think it seemed like NASCAR was a lot easier with it throughout a lot of the races this weekend, and very evident on Saturday and Sunday, and even today during today's race. I don't think there was really that many cautions before, besides for very obvious reasons where you had Custer and Truex destroying each other, the big mess that involved Harvick and Bubba and Christopher Bell, and then obviously the rain at the end of the race. But it was interesting. I'm intrigued to see if that's going to be something that carries forward into the next couple of road courses that we get into. I believe Sonoma is the next one, followed by Road America. And another trend that I'm really curious to see if it continues is Chase Elliott, because, oh my goodness, this dude is just, he wasn't the most dominant car today, but somehow, some way, he finds his way to the front at the end of these things, and he has just became the dude to beat at these road courses. And how about the timing, too, going into the Coke 600 next weekend, where that was a race that got away from him last year. Does this confidence of this first win of the season build him up for even more momentum going into next weekend? He won at Charlotte, the Oval, last year, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that 9 team does now that they got that monkey out there. But I did get a chance to talk with Chase after the race, and here's what he had to say about all of that. Chase, you grab your first win this weekend. How big is that for your confidence, especially heading to the Coke 600 next weekend, where you almost won last year, and you won at Charlotte otherwise last year too? But that Coke 600, I know that's a big race. How big is this win to have going into a weekend like that?
Yeah, man. Like I said, these races are too hard to win to really pick and choose and get picky on how. You want to win them, I guess, normally and without rain or anything to change the normal distance. But look, I mean, a win is a win. A big win today for our team, for Chevrolet, for Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, and certainly going back to Charlotte, which is HMS's home track. And we'd love to go there and have another great run and be able to fight for another win.
And you got this win today, kind of continuing to solidify yourself as the road course king, as a lot of people would like to call you. What does it mean to have that reputation and to keep bolstering it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't read into it much. I mean, I think everybody, like I said a minute ago, everybody has an opinion and they're entitled to it, and I'm happy for them, but at the end of the day, we've got to continue to push ourselves and try to be better and challenge ourselves to push forward at all the tracks, not just road courses, but a win is a win. Right turns, left turns, uphill, downhill. I really don't care. They're too hard to win, and I'm going to enjoy it and enjoy them all.
Chase's win is also a big part for Rick Hendrick and Chevrolet. Chevrolet collecting their 800th win. Unbelievable. Just to hear that number and hear somebody has that many wins. Although you think of the success with Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, it's not a big surprise that they have a buttload of wins. And it's interesting. I believe the stat was that Rick Hendrick has now collected their 400th, 500th, 600th, 700th, and 800th win, or something like that, which is just absurd as well. But I mean, this race was just full of absurd stats when it came to Chase Elliott winning. Another one, which is now that Hendrick Motorsports, they now tied for the most wins as a team in NASCAR, tying themselves with Richard Petty Motorsports, which is very interesting. I'm surprised it's taken this long for somebody to catch King Richard and his team, and it'll be interesting to see when that record gets broken, or maybe maybe Eric Jones comes out and surprises and kind of prolongs the suffering. But with how strong Hendrick Motorsports has been this season, they were 1, 2, 3, 4 last week. And then this week they're 1-2 with Kyle Larson finishing in second, looking very good again. It's going to be interesting. I don't think that record's going to stand for very much longer for Richard Petty Motorsports. They're tied now. I think Rick Hendrick will probably own it, and he could very well own it by the end of next week at the Coke 600 with how well his cars are running. Saturday's day at the racetrack with the Xfinity and trucks both running a doubleheader at the Circuit of Americas. It was interesting. The first race I thought was fantastic. It got me pumped for the weekend. The Truck Series was a fantastic race. You had Kaz Gralla, Sheldon Creed, Todd Gillen putting on some just absolute bangers for the lead, and it was fun throughout the entire race. That was what I kind of want to see in NASCAR races, where you don't really focus at how much time is left in the race. You don't focus on what stage we're in. You focus on the battles that are going on, and this race had them. And I said on Twitter that I really think that stage racing really helped this race too, kind of throwing in those breaks to kind of just ease it up. And then we got right back into it with these battles, and I don't think it would have been as exciting of a race without the stages. I know that's kind of a controversial opinion when it comes to road courses, because I know a lot of people would rather just not have the stage breaks. They believe that it kind of ruins the pit cycle and the strategy there when it comes to road course racing, and that's fair. But I think it really helped with that Camping World Truck Series race. Todd Gillen coming home with Front Row Motorsports' first win in that series. We got to talk with both Todd and Kaz Gralla after the race, so here's a couple of clips for you. Kaz, another good run for you today in a year where you're running part-time across all different series. What does it mean to you to be able to come out to the racetrack and be able to run up front, even with just being a part-time driver?
Yeah, I mean, I watch all the races on TV, and so it's always good to actually be able to be here and be behind the wheel. That's my passion, and that's what I love to do. So, you know, I was smiling from the moment I got to the track this weekend, and we got a good finish. So that's just icing on the cake. But, you know, it definitely is good to be competitive and be up front. You know, those are opportunities that you don't always have, and you don't know when your next one or your last one is. So the young's giving me the chance to drive this truck and be able to run up front, contend with it, was definitely a blast. And these are the special times.
Obviously, your family has a long history with Front Row Motorsports. What does it mean to you to grab their first NASCAR Camping World Truck Series win?
It's huge. Just everyone puts in a lot of effort to this truck team. And just to see your hard work pay off, I think that's what the opportunity is, to have this race winning truck team now, is that people can watch us on the Fridays and just want to do that, you know, for the Cup teams too. And, you know, we've seen Front Row's had a great year. Michael McDowell's been running pretty good week in and week out, and Anthony's getting, you know, head and shoulders better, you know, every week, learning from Michael. So just, I think if we can start being really competitive week in, week out, it'll just kind of boost the whole morale. And just to get the first truck win is huge. And like I said, just now it's a race winning team.
And we had the Xfinity Series race, and man, it felt like the old days of the Cup, the Bushwhackers, because that was a I don't want to call it a boring race, because it wasn't the worst race I've ever seen, but it definitely wasn't up to par with the Truck Series. The interesting thing that I found with this race was the Truck Series didn't have a natural caution. The closest thing that they came to it was when Timmy Hill stalled on the racetrack in the closing laps. No caution was called for that, even though Kaylee Deegan almost destroyed him. Lucky that neither one of those trucks were severely damaged by that. But yeah, the Xfinity Series had quite a few of the natural cautions, and nothing really seemed to help it, because it just was Kyle Busch's world and everybody else was living in it. And he was definitely the guy to beat. It felt like your stereotypical Xfinity Series race with Kyle Busch in it, and he took over and just dominated the entire thing. Not much to say other than that for that race. It wasn't a very memorable one, but overall, I think the weekend at the Circuit of Americas COTA was very good. And I know that everybody might not share that opinion. I know that this rain delay that happened today probably put a damper on a lot of people's opinion of the racetrack, but I think it was a very good weekend. I think the racing was good. It's very nice to see practice and qualifying back. It really felt normal. It felt like a very normal NASCAR weekend, even though we're still in kind of the later stages, hopefully nearing the end of this whole COVID saga. And it felt like a very normal race weekend, and it feels like something that we're probably going to be getting used to next year when we get into the 2022 schedule, where, yeah, practice and qualifying are probably going to be back every single weekend from everything that I've heard. But it's probably going to be kind of like this, where it's going to be one practice session, one qualifying session, go race. And I think it worked. It was fun. I think it gave the fans a lot to look forward to and plenty of action. Gave TV time to NASCAR across Fox Sports 1. And that's another thing, not to jump off topic for anything, but why was everything on Fox Sports 1 this weekend? They hyped up, it was in the season preview package for Fox about how they were going to COTA, and this race was on Fox Sports 1, and I get it, you want to bring in numbers to Fox Sports 1, but this felt like one of the bigger races of the year, and it's over here sitting on Fox Sports 1. I don't know. That might just be a nitpick thing with me, but I think that if it's going to, especially, and maybe this is too soon to be calling COTA one of the bigger races of the season, but really, with how everybody talked about it, with how Fox promoted it, it was one of the races in that minute to 30-second ad that they ran with the best season ever. It was one of the things they touched on, and it was over here on FS1. And I think these bigger races need to be those ones that take up the local TV spots. And I don't know, that's just my opinion about that. Bring more eyes in. It's a big fight field when it comes to these races, and I don't know. I just feel like national television is better than the cable alternative when it comes to that. But that's just my opinion on that. And who could forget the old ARCA Menards Series racing last night, Saturday at Toledo Speedway, with Ty Gibbs again winning. And I know a lot of people that may have not watched the race. It was on MAV TV. Just a heads up, if you get NBC Track Pass to watch a lot of the short track series, the ARCA Menards East and West series, you get all the ARCA races that are on MAV TV, and I think that's just one heck of a steal for, I think, like $3 a month. I don't know, that's just my opinion on that. But it was a pretty good race. Again, if you didn't watch it, you're gonna see the stat line, you're gonna see like, oh, Ty Gibbs dominated again. But the end of the race was really fun, where you had old Corey Hine coming up, giving Ty a little bit of the boot, get him out of the way. Ty Gibbs comes racing back through the field, and he comes up and takes it right back from him, and he went on to win the race. I think that's going to be a very underrated battle this season, and I was one of those people that said that this was just going to be Ty Gibbs' season. I wouldn't have been surprised if he won every single ARCA Menards Series race, but that hasn't been the case, and I think Corey Hine's going to be a good little challenger for him, and I think he's proven his worth. I think a lot of people should take note of how he performed at Darlington with Cobblers Motorsports. Obviously, the night didn't end the way he wanted to there, but he was running up front. And I think it's going to be more than just the Ty Gibbs show in ARCA. And you just got to give the ARCA Menards Series some love. I know those shorter fields can draw away some people. Sometimes the show is not the best, but I think they put on a good enough show where it warrants the attention. And I think more people should be talking about that, especially since, like, you're seeing Ty Gibbs, who, let's be honest, is probably the next big thing out there. And you can say that, hey, I watched this guy develop in the ARCA Menards Series. I've been seeing this guy, so he's not just a big surprise when you see him in the Xfinity Series. I don't know. I could get on a whole tangent about that, but that's just my takeaway on that. That's my thoughts on the race weekend as a whole. What did you think? Did you like the COTA? Did you not like it? Do you think that we need to remove this track from the schedule? Do you think that this may be a bigger issue with too many road courses? Do you think that NASCAR needs to be running in the rain? Do you agree with Kevin Harvick where it's too dangerous, silly, dumb, bad idea? Or do you think that, they're NASCAR drivers, they can do it whatever? I don't personally agree with that, but I've seen a couple of comments like that around where it's just been like, they can do it. I'm kind of in the middle. I think NASCAR needs to find that right groove. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the weekend. Be sure to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, Black Cat Sports. Follow me on Twitter, MitchellB66. And yeah, hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm excited for Charlotte next weekend. More practice, more qualifying. I love to see it, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to bringing more coverage to you guys. So yeah, hope you have a great week.